Vladimir Putin is the president of Russia and one of the most influential and controversial leaders in the world. He has been in power for more than 2 decades, during which he has transformed Russia's political, economic, military, and foreign affairs. He has also faced criticism and opposition from some domestic and international actors who accuse him of undermining democracy and human rights. He is a complex and fascinating figure who has shaped his country's history and destiny. Early life and career. Vladimir Putin has been the president of Russia for more than 2 decades, with a brief interruption as prime minister. He has shaped Russia's political landscape with a mix of strategic maneuvers and policies that have often been criticized by the West. Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in Leningrad, which is now known as St. Petersburg. He was the youngest of 3 children of Vladimir Spiridonovich Putin, a factory worker, and Maria Ivanovna Podina, a former factory worker and a nurse during World War II. Putin's childhood was marked by poverty and hardship, as he grew up in a communal apartment with his family and other tenants. He was a shy and quiet boy, but also a good student and an avid reader. He developed an interest in martial arts, especially judo and sambo, which he practiced throughout his life. Putin graduated from high school in 1970 and enrolled in the law department of Leningrad State University. There, he joined the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, CPSU, and became involved in student politics. He also met his future wife, Lyudmila Shkrebneva, whom he married in 1983. They had 2 daughters, Maria and Katerina, who have remained out of the public eye. In 1975, Putin graduated from university and joined the KGB, the Soviet secret police and intelligence agency. He underwent rigorous training and was assigned to the counterintelligence department. He worked mainly in Leningrad, monitoring foreigners and dissidents. In 1985, he was transferred to Dresden, East Germany, where he served as a liaison officer between the KGB and the East German secret police, the Stasi. He witnessed the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe and the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. In 1990, Putin returned to Leningrad and resigned from the KGB with the rank of lieutenant colonel. He entered politics as an advisor to Anatoly Sobchak, the mayor of Leningrad and a former law professor of Putin. He helped Sobchak implement democratic reforms and fight corruption in the city administration. He also established contacts with influential businessmen and politicians in Russia and abroad. In 1996, Putin moved to Moscow after Sobchak lost his re-election bid. He joined the presidential administration of Boris Yeltsin, who was struggling with economic crisis, political instability, and health problems. Putin quickly rose through the ranks, holding various positions such as Deputy Chief of Staff, Director of the Federal Security Service, FSB, the successor of the KGB, Secretary of the Security Council, and First Deputy Prime Minister. In August 1999, Yeltsin appointed Putin as prime minister and endorsed him as his successor. A few weeks later, Russia faced a series of terrorist attacks that killed hundreds of civilians and were blamed on Chechen separatists. Putin responded by launching a second war in Chechnya, which boosted his popularity among Russians who saw him as a strong leader who could restore order and security. On December 31, 1999, Yeltsin announced his resignation and handed over power to Putin, who became acting president until the next election. In March 2000, Putin won the presidential election with 53% of the vote. He vowed to revive Russia's economy, strengthen its military, protect its national interests, and restore its global influence. Since then, Putin has been re-elected 3 more times, in 2004 with 71% of the vote, in 2012 with 64% of the vote, and in 2018 with 77% of the vote. In between his second and third terms as president, he served as prime minister under his protégé Dmitry Medvedev from 2008 to 2012. This was seen as a way to circumvent the constitutional limit of 2 consecutive presidential terms. Economic reforms and stability. One of the main aspects of Vladimir Putin's presidency is his economic policy. Putin has pursued a mix of liberal and statist reforms that have aimed to achieve stability and growth, but also faced challenges and criticism. During his first term, 1999 to 2003, Putin implemented a series of liberal economic reforms, such as the flat income tax of 13%, reduced profits tax in new land and civil code superscript 1. He also continued the privatization process that had started in the 1990s and joined the World Trade Organization in 2012. These reforms helped to create a market economy, attract foreign investment, and increase productivity and competitiveness. During his second term, 2004 to 2008, Putin shifted to a more statist approach as he increased the role of the state in strategic sectors such as energy, defense, and banking. He also nationalized some private assets, such as Yukos, the oil company owned by Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who was jailed on charges of fraud and tax evasion. Putin also created state-owned corporations, such as Rosneft and Gazprom, to manage Russia's natural resources and generate revenues for the state budget. Putin's economic policy was boosted by high oil prices, which allowed him to accumulate large foreign exchange reserves and create a stabilization fund to cushion the impact of external shocks. He also paid off most of Russia's foreign debt and maintained a budget surplus. As a result, Russia's GDP grew by an average of 7% per year from 1999 to 2008, and poverty declined by more than half superscript 1. Russia also became one of the world's largest economies and a member of the G8 group of industrialized nations. However, Putin's economic policy also faced some major challenges and drawbacks. In 2008, Russia was hit hard by the global financial crisis, which exposed its dependence on oil exports and its vulnerability to external shocks. Russia's GDP contracted by 7.8% in 2009, and inflation soared to 13.3% superscript 2. Putin responded by increasing public spending, bailing out troubled banks and companies, and devaluing the ruble. He also introduced some anti-crisis measures, such as tax cuts, subsidies, and stimulus packages. In 2014, Russia faced another economic crisis, triggered by the annexation of Crimea, the war in Ukraine, and the Western sanctions that followed. These events led to a sharp decline in oil prices, a collapse of the ruble, an outflow of capital, and a recession that lasted until 2016. Putin adopted a more conservative fiscal policy, cutting public expenditures and increasing taxes. He also relied on import substitution and self-reliance to reduce Russia's dependence on foreign trade and investment. Since then, Russia's economy has been stagnating, with low growth rates of around 1 to 2% per year. Putin has faced increasing social discontent and protests over issues such as pension reform, corruption, inequality, and environmental degradation. He has also faced international isolation and pressure over his foreign policy actions in Syria, Libya, Belarus, and elsewhere. Putin's economic policy has been characterized by stability and stagnation. He has achieved some impressive results in terms of macroeconomic stability, poverty reduction, and global influence. However, he has also failed to diversify Russia's economy, foster innovation and competition, improve governance and institutions, and address structural problems and social challenges. He has also been accused of undermining democracy and human rights in pursuit of his economic goals. Foreign policy and geopolitical ambitions. One of the main aspects of Putin's presidency is his foreign policy, which reflects his understanding of recent European and Russian history, his vision of Russia's role and interests in the world, and his strategy to achieve them. Putin's foreign policy is based on his interpretation of history, which emphasizes the continuity and unity of Russia as a great power that has shaped and defended its civilization and sovereignty against external threats. Putin views Russia as the successor of both the Soviet Union and the Russian Empire, which he considers to have been unjustly dismantled and humiliated by the West. He also sees Russia as the heir of ancient Rus, the medieval state that originated in Kiev and gave birth to the Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian peoples. He claims that these peoples are historically, culturally, and spiritually inseparable, and that Ukraine is not a real nation but a part of Russia's land and space. Putin's foreign policy is also driven by his vision of Russia's role and interests in the world, which are based on his perception of the global balance of power and the challenges and opportunities that it presents for Russia. Putin believes that Russia is a unique civilization that has its own values and interests that are often incompatible with those of the West, especially the United States and NATO. He also believes that Russia is a multipolar world order that respects the diversity of cultures and the sovereignty of nations. He opposes the unipolar world order that he sees as dominated by the West, which he accuses of interfering in Russia's internal affairs, expanding NATO to its borders, deploying missile defense systems in Europe, supporting regime change in countries friendly to Russia, and imposing sanctions on Russia for its actions in Ukraine and elsewhere. Putin's foreign policy is also shaped by his strategy to achieve his goals, which involves a mix of diplomatic, economic, military, and informational tools. Putin uses diplomacy to build strategic partnerships with countries that share his vision or benefit from his cooperation, such as China, India, Brazil, Iran, Venezuela, and North Korea. He also uses diplomacy to mediate or intervene in regional conflicts that affect Russia's interests or security, such as Syria, Libya, Belarus, and Afghanistan. He uses economic tools to leverage Russia's natural resources, especially oil and gas, to generate revenues for the state budget, to attract foreign investment, to create state-owned corporations in strategic sectors, to diversify Russia's economy, and to reduce its dependence on foreign trade and investment. He uses military tools to modernize Russia's armed forces, to expand its nuclear arsenal, to increase its defense budget, to conduct military exercises, to project power in its neighborhood and beyond, and to support its allies or proxies in conflicts such as Georgia, 2008, Ukraine, 2014, and Syria, 2015. He uses informational tools to control most of the media outlets in Russia, to spread propaganda and disinformation at home and abroad, to influence public opinion in elections in other countries, to undermine trust in Western institutions and values, and to promote conservative values and traditional morality. Putin's foreign policy has achieved some impressive results in terms of restoring Russia's status as a great power in the global arena. He has also faced some major challenges and drawbacks in terms of provoking confrontation with the West. He has also encountered hostility and sanctions from some foreign countries who accuse him of violating international law and norms. He has also faced opposition and resistance from some domestic groups who demand more freedom and accountability. He has also faced challenges and risks from various factors that threaten Russia's stability and security. Putin's foreign policy is a complex and contradictory process that reflects his understanding of history, his vision of Russia's role and interests in the world, his strategy to achieve them. It is also a dynamic process that changes according to the circumstances. It is also an uncertain process that depends on many variables. It is also a controversial process that inspires admiration or fear, respect or hatred, loyalty or opposition. It is also a consequential process that affects not only Russia but also its neighbors, its partners, its rivals, its friends, its enemies, its allies, its adversaries. It is also a process that will continue to shape Russia's history destiny for many years to come. Legacy and global influence. One of the main aspects of Putin's presidency is his legacy and global influence, which reflect his achievements and failures, his strengths and weaknesses, his opportunities and challenges. Putin's legacy is a mixed one that involves both positive and negative outcomes for Russia and the world. On the positive side, Putin has restored Russia's status as a great power that can defend its interests and sovereignty, project its influence, and shape global events. He has also revived Russia's economy, reduced poverty, increased public spending, paid off foreign debts, and accumulated large reserves. He has also modernized Russia's military, expanded its nuclear arsenal, increased its defense budget, and conducted military exercises. He has also built strategic partnerships with emerging powers such as China, India, and Brazil, and mediated or intervened in regional conflicts such as Syria, Libya, Belarus, and Afghanistan. He has also promoted a multipolar world order that respects the diversity of cultures and the sovereignty of nations. On the negative side, Putin has undermined Russia's democracy, violated human rights, repressed civil society, controlled the media, cracked down on opposition, and changed the constitution to extend his term limit. He has also failed to diversify Russia's economy, foster innovation and competition, improve governance and institutions, and address structural problems and social challenges. He has also provoked confrontation with the West, annexed Crimea, waged war in eastern Ukraine, supported a brutal regime in Syria, interfered in elections and politics in Western countries, and targeted dissidents and activists abroad. He has also faced international isolation and pressure over his foreign policy actions in Syria, Libya, Belarus, and elsewhere. Putin's global influence is a significant one that affects not only Russia but also its neighbors, its partners, its rivals, its friends, its enemies, its allies, its adversaries. Putin's biography is a fascinating story of a man who rose from humble origins to become one of the most powerful and influential leaders in the world. He has shaped Russia's history and destiny for more than 2 decades, and will likely continue to do so for many more years to come. He is a complex and controversial figure who inspires admiration and fear, respect and hatred, loyalty and opposition. He is a leader who has defined his era and left his mark on the world. These are the few informations and facts about Vladimir Putin. For a detailed encyclopedia, please click on the I button or check the description below. That's all for now, and thank you for watching. If you enjoyed our video and appreciate it, please take a moment to give it a like and write your thoughts and suggestions as a comment, and please help us grow by subscribing to our channel and sharing it to your friends and family.